Right, just a short video on something I've covered a few times. I've heard different people talking about look into others. What it is I think over the past few years we've been encouraged to given lines of advice, like you get on YouTube videos, for example. This is the way you should approach certain situations, whether it be dating or karma, just topics to do with life and nature. And there's always familiar phrases that are brought up, and myself, I contest a few of them, and sometimes you can adjust a phrase with a couple of words and it has an entirely different meaning, or even a slightly different meaning which reveals different intent. So you have to be very careful with the use of words, and try not to generalize and not be afraid to challenge a perspective, because it might suit somebody else but it might not suit you, and everybody's different. Everybody has their own ideology, especially if they're not looking to decent people to lead them, which I believe this is the state of things at the moment. We've got a lot of people with bad intent laying it out, and that's where the advice, sickens me, but these are the people that have been lifted up, not by me, because I'm very, very separate from the goings on, companies, businesses, organisations, support groups. I go to church, but I'm not Christian. I don't believe that being a label to do with any of these groups is such a good thing at all. But in most cases, on the few, like the attending church thing, it's one of my few ways of meeting people, and there's nice people there, that's why I go, and I think that's to do with moral guidelines, nothing to do with being a Christian, or not to do with the authoritarian sort of message that's preached. It's to do with the morality, same with any sort of religious basis, I suppose. This is why I respect the different, the Sikhs, the Muslims, the Hindus and the Buddhists, because they do put a positive moral fibre based message out there in general. A lot of the information is questioning one's morality, and it's healthy, and the amount, yeah. Right. So the gist of this video is, like I say, this sort of advice on how to conduct yourself, how to deal with karma, dating, or whatever, issues that come up in your life. I think with there being a lot of distance between peoples, not just with this coronary for sort of setup, but with palaver, but with I mean, that distance has been between peoples for a long time, and I think that's down, like I say, to these bad advice and or questionable advice and habits which don't help the situation. You know, maybe if the advice was slightly different, they'd look to different people, and the habits adopted wouldn't be the same, you know. So that's, but my sort of, like I say, the gist of it is to do with your senses. You know, you've got the ability to hear. You've got the ability to speak. You've got the ability to smell. You've got the ability to taste. Yeah, feel. But it's just like none of these senses are being used. I feel a disconnect myself. I've done for a while, but and I know a lot of other people have as well. And it's just like, because these senses, which have been given to you by nature, you know, God, it's not. They're not being used. You know, there's no. It's just like this sheep like mentality. But these abilities you've been given by God and nature, not being used. And let's put it out there. If you listening, for example, you listen to the right people that you look upon, then all of a sudden, you know, you're going to be hearing decent information, you know, or information that's inspirational. So that is a good thing. But I just get the impression this stonewalling is going on, and people putting the barriers up. It's an important part of being a part of this society. I think I get the impression there's a lot of people that have an assumption that people are going to be there for them, because there's a lot of vulnerable people, and they go around and they're very blatant with how they behave and everything, but they're taking all those senses for granted because they're not using them. And it's just a very natural sort of thing, and they're not doing it. They're disengaged from it. Maybe they claim to be spiritual, but they're not using the senses that aid the spirit. That's what I'm getting at. These senses are put there, given to you for a reason, It's not so you can become a shrinking violet and just go inside yourself. It's not satisfying, it's not fulfilling, it doesn't give you a full life. And I just feel there's a lot of people who are making assumptions about who will be there for them. And because, I've said this before, people will be looking to the same people. And it'll be because it's always a minority of people that are willing to be there. There's a majority of sheep who will just take advantage, and if anything difficult comes up, they'll run a mile. plenty of them. Sheep. So I'm just, you know, it's a cautionary thing that I'm getting at, but it's vital at this time. And I think there's a lot of people who are just asleep to it and don't realise, don't recognise that things could get, you know, things can change really fast. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, who's who? That person, you know? And, you know, this, I mean, this is why kindness is such a big thing, and why it's important to try and keep good intent with most people you meet, because you never know what's around the corner. But I just feel I need to address this issue. It's a little bit confusing at the moment. I think this is because of what's going on, but at the same time, it's important to put it out there, and hopefully I've addressed it. Right. Love and blessings.